Cherry. Good morning, Kay. What up, Alexis? Roll call. Early morning, folks. What up, what up, what up? So we know at least a handful of people get notifications when I go live. Canada, yellow. I'm currently boiling milk because out of the 10 cartons of milk that I took home from Grandma's, the first 3 that I opened were bad. And I was like, you know what? I have no idea how long Grandma has been keeping all these milk cartons. Hi, UK. And I just decided to give them a smell test. And the ones that passed the smell test went into the pot. And now we're boiling it. And I'm going to save some of the boiled milk for future uses. We're not going to make yogurt because I still have yogurt from last time. But we will be making some oats today. I would like to eat some oats. And just to update you guys, I've been dealing with a lot of fear in the last week for myself. The long COVID symptoms of fatigue has now turned into this sensation of flank pain that reminds me of when I had IgA nephropathy when I was a kid. It's an autoimmune kidney condition where the body attacks a certain protein that is found in the nephrons, the filtration units of the kidneys. And so as a kid, my urinalysis would routinely come back with presence of blood and protein, which is not good because your body is not supposed to be filtering out blood and protein in your urine. I'm going to buy some test strips for myself and track my urine for a couple of days and see what's turning up. But the kind of fatigue that I'm experiencing now reminds me a lot of the sensations that I had as a kid. I am kind of worried that maybe long COVID is triggering some whole body breakdown where it might be making my IgA nephropathy come back from remission. So that's currently my existential fear. And I'm just trying to sit with it, and reminding myself that whatever happens, happens, and it's out of my control. And, as much as I want to stress about it, the only way forward is to find solutions if I want solutions. But yeah, just a moment of grounding and a moment of making some oats for myself so that I feel warmer. And hi, Philippines. I'm going to turn on the chat. This will be a quick stream. I still don't have a lot of physical stamina, so it does tire me out to stand like this. All of which to say, take care of yourselves, gauge what your body is able to do, and do what works on any given day. So thank you all for joining me, and happy Tuesday, I guess. I do wonder to what degree this is kind of just maybe my body soaking up all the collective misery that we've been realizing. I'm hopeful that it's not my kidney condition, that it's just extreme burnout on all fronts, but we'll see, I guess. I'm going to be boiling this milk steadily for about 6 or 7 more minutes just to reduce a little bit, to get it a little bit richer, and, just to make sure we got all the pathogens out of there in case there were any. We got some snow in New York City last week. None of it stuck. It quickly turned into snow rain, and there was not a trace of it left, except maybe on a few car windows the morning after. So this is our winter now. How's everybody else dealing with their weeks? You got snow in Arizona. Does Arizona usually get snow? Fascinating. Alright, I'm thinking today I'm going to experiment making some saffron oats. It's not something that I've ever made before, and I usually don't like the flavor of saffron, but I figured now's as good a time as any to start exploring the flavors that I'm not used to, except I can't find my saffron. Where you be, saffron? Hiding from me. It knows I don't appreciate it. So I'm just going to put a couple of strands, maybe 4, maybe that much. Not a whole lot, maybe 1 more. And into the bowl with saffron, I'm just going to ladle in a little bit of milk. And we'll wait for it to bloom. Damn, that sucks, Cherry. It reminds me of this time that I went all the way out to Brooklyn when I was, I think, still in Queens. I don't remember anymore. For a job interview. And it was to make bagels for a bagel shop restaurant who at the time was very popular. I'm sure they still are. And I really liked everybody, and I was so excited to get to learn how to make bagels and do it all the time. And I got accepted. And then literally 2 days before the start date, I get an email saying they're shutting down their internal bagel process, and instead they were gonna like outsource it somewhere. And that was probably like one of the biggest bummers I ever had while working in food. Gotta be honest. It's always when they give you an offer and then rescind it somehow that makes it so much worse. Ah well, could have always been worse, right? That's what I say. And worse it does get. I haven't seen the video yet, but apparently there was this crowd of people chanting 4 more years for Biden. I don't know what to say about that except they either don't really pay attention or just have a lot of confusion and hate inside to want another 4 years of this shit. I'm going to encourage everybody to do what feels right. Not what other people say is right, but just check in with yourself and do what feels right. It's going to require some thinking maybe and a lot of uncertainty, but currently, I don't know about you, but I don't really have a lot of trust left in any systems anymore. First, it was my reckoning with HR at my last job and seeing how that worked. You know, so-called human resources. And now it's seeing very, very clearly for myself, for the first time as an adult, what the government's agenda is. Certainly not for our well-being. Certainly not for other people's well-being across the world. And yeah, think if anyone tells me the lesser of two evils again, I might just like punch them. Especially if I feel like I'm dying. Saffron is blooming a little bit. Not sure if you can see, but there is a golden tinge to the milk now. I'm going to ladle out a jar of milk for safekeeping. Wish I had a bigger jar. I don't know where all the lids to my other jars went. Dang. So strange. Let's see about this one. Is there anything anybody's looking forward to this week? Do we have some happy vibes to share? Pad Thai for the first time turned out great. That is great. I am happy to hear that. All right. Oats, 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 oats. We're gonna use some of my toasty oats. Before I put in the oats, I'm wondering if I should put in some sort of sweetener. Yeah, you know, maybe some of that homemade molasses with the Chinese red sugar. Maybe some of that could be good. A little bit healthy, healthful, whatever we want to call it. Um, up early to start my internship in a hemp greenhouse. Hell yeah! That sounds so fun. Thank you for the well wishes, Anna. Um, Her cat is named Waffles and she hugs arms in her sleep. That's cute. That's very cute. This is very hot. Smells potent. Yes. Dark brown color. Yes. I'm gonna be so surprised if I end up liking this saffron, red sugar, molasses concoction. I hope I do. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised by life. I'm very tempted to put peanut butter in here. You guys want to vote? Peanut butter in the saffron molasses oatmeal or no? Volunteering at senior center helps get me out of my head. Yes, love it. All right, we got 3 yeses, 1 no. Let's do it. I feel called to make this as weird as possible right now. You're allergic, but yes. We love a little good death wish. Homemade peanut butter. Just a tablespoon. You know what this actually reminds me of is that like Chinese black sesame paste drink. It's one of my favorite drinks. This peanut butter is very darkly toasted, so it almost has that black sesame feel to it. There's actually some pre-packaged Chinese drinks that I really like. A lot of them are like porridge, multi-grain, kind of add water and dilute packets. And they're just like very slurpy and nutty and sweetened and wholesome. Sometimes when I feel like really lazy and sad and depressed, I'll just open a packet and start spooning it into my mouth without any dilution whatsoever. And it's kind of like if you ever ate like Fun Dip or Pixie Sticks, it's kind of like that, except more nutritious, I suppose, because there's nuts in it rather than just straight up sugar. This smells very reminiscent to me. Alright. Welcome to my live when it's actually live. I hope you enjoy. I hope I can situate the phone so it doesn't fall, but maybe it might. IDK. Seems stable for now, if a little bit crooked. It's a weird angle, huh? Yay! I'm so happy to hear that you have a better place to live. So important. Alright, saffron milk is going in. I'm going to add a little bit of rice water. I've been cooking down brown rice with black peppercorns to drink almost as a tea. Oops. There goes my spoon. That's a hot spoon. Holy shit, that tastes really good. So we're gonna rinse it out with a little bit of rice water. It's basically like really loose congee if you want to think about it that way. Yeah, long COVID, struggling more with depression, general irritation with most everything more. Yes, absolutely. So I actually no longer know what came first, the chicken or the egg, in terms of burnout from Palestine, emotional burnout from my own life, it coinciding. Palestine started in early October, and that was also when I was going through the anniversary of, my mom dying and me getting fired and all of that. And so I think emotionally I was already kind of burnt out, and then just to see it unfold for the past 3.5 months, and trying to be also active in solidarity and feeling hopeless and feeling useless and feeling like, oh man, this isn't changing anything for the people impacted, and just feeling that despair, I think, added to that burnout. And then I was feeling really low energy and tired for quite some time, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, before I think I finally caught a cold. And I thought, oh, maybe this is COVID, but I tested negative 3 times throughout 3 weeks of it, and it wasn't COVID, at least according to my home rapid tests. And then the cold, which didn't really have very many disruptive symptoms. I mean, I went live and you guys saw me. You know, I sounded sick. I felt sick, but it wasn't like can't get out of bed, high fever all the time, coughing. I think I had maybe 2 days of sneezing and intense congestion and runny noses. And other than that, maybe 3 sporadic days where I felt like I was running a low fever with slight chills in my body. Never developed a cough. And it was just strange because I'm firmly in week 4 now since getting that cold, and I'm finally starting to feel like I don't have a cold anymore. So it took almost 3 weeks for me to get over that cold. But now there's just fatigue, and now within the last 3 days, this flank pain paired with the fatigue has set in, coinciding with my period cramps. And so I'm still feeling like crampy in this area, even though my period's been here for a week now almost. But I'm also experiencing flank pain in the back where my kidneys are, which is something that I experienced as a kid when I had IgA nephropathy at full flare. And so I really don't know anymore, you know. And obviously, all in the middle of all of this physical discomfort and weakness is the mental health aspect of it, for sure. I'm not really... The depression is bad. I've felt hopeless. I think about 4 to 6 weeks into learning about Palestine and, you know, trying to do whatever the right thing was, I started feeling like a return of my suicidal ideation that I haven't experienced in 7 or 8 years. And again, it's just suicidal ideation. It's not, you know, acting on the impulse, but I am recognizing that I had thoughts of, man, I don't really want to live in a world that is capable of doing this forever, as a cycle. So yeah, I think my depression has been worse. I think I've been emotionally way more volatile. I think I take things a lot more personally. I think I can break down very easily. I mean, I've always been emotionally moody and unstable like that, but I think definitely in the past 2 months, I've experienced a lot more of it, and more intensely. So yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I don't know what to do about it. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm gonna make this even more weird now. I just have to do it. It's calling to me. So I roasted some purple sweet potatoes for Grandma, but this one didn't end up roasting good. It felt fibrous and tough. So I think what I'm gonna do is add in a little bit more rice water, dilute it, and we're going to try to boil this sweet potato after I skin it into the oatmeal so that it cooks a little bit more. This is the weirdest sludge pile I've ever made, probably recently, in memory, and I'm kind of happy that we're doing it. So, here we go. Found out today long COVID is causing me to become diabetic. Wow! Do you want to share? I am kind of scared of that too. I do agree, Cherry. I do think that my ability to cope with mental health challenges has improved. So thank you for pointing that out, you know. This is like just a really tough piece of purple sweet potato. I'm actually gonna go ahead and microwave it first with a little bit of water. I think that might help the skins release. COVID has been killing off pancreatic cells. Interesting. Yeah, Erin actually just sent me a video from Physics Girls. She's been like hospitalized, right? She's kind of like in a coma state almost. Man, shit is weird. Oh, that's really hot. Shit is really weird. Well, I hope I don't get to that stage, but, you know, if I do, you'll know. I've been going through all the usual overthinking, like, how do I give my stuff away to my friends if I'm gonna die? All that sort of thing. And really, really glad my mom isn't here to see this. Because if she hadn't died already, I'm sure this will kill her. Yeah, I had COVID last Thanksgiving, so it's been 14 months now, I guess. So, I don't know. I don't know if this is long COVID, if I just burnt out really bad, if it's just bad timing with everything happening all at the same fell swoop. But I just know it doesn't feel good, and I'm a little scared. And yeah, I need to get on health insurance. Breakfast pumpkin soup, yes. Exactly. And I think I just really wanted to cook something today. Just stand over a steaming pot and watch things kind of unfold and feel warm over it. I think it's what I needed. I just don't want the oats to burn at the bottom, but I still want the sweet potatoes to cook, so I'm adding in water to make sure we have enough to evaporate off. And also rice water, slightly spiced with black peppercorns, is super delicious. I've been using the Burlap and Barrel purple peppercorns that just came back in stock after 2 years. It's quite bright. It's a very bright kind of peppercorn. They ripen it on the vine until it's super, super bright red, the berries. And then they harvest it and dry it and process it. Which means the birds come and eat some of the berries because ripe peppercorn berries are probably very delicious to them as well. So it's a very cute pair of growers who tend to this little farm, work with the birds, let them eat it. Chili crab chips and Reese's cups? Girl, you know what? That sounds great. All I ate yesterday was scones, cake, Takis, and Ferrero Rochers. And you know what? That's fine. Because it sounds morbid, doesn't it? But I have been thinking, like, if I only have 2 years left to live, would I care what I'm eating today? Right now? Like, I'm not gonna eat like this every day, you know? But if this is what I end up eating today, then this is what I end up eating today. It's been less than 100 days since October 7th, and we have now over 100 dead journalists. And family members also being targeted. So with death constantly in our faces, unjustifiable ones, ongoing, it's just made me think a little differently about certain things, you know? Feeling this week is very distressing. Not only because of how little energy I have to go about my day, but also thinking about what it means to have this little energy and why I have this little energy, which I don't have an answer to, but I have a fearful guess as to why. So, you know, puts things into perspective. And I attended almost like a 3-hour-long Zoom panel yesterday where about three death workers were invited to speak about how to navigate so much death. It's very illuminating. Actually, let me grab my notebook. I took some notes. I also grabbed 2 books from the Salvation Army a few days ago. I thought they were very on topic. But okay, from the death workshop yesterday. Here are the notes that I wrote down. There's weed on this page, sorry, excuse me. After over a month of not smoking, I've gone back to smoking. It's helped. One keyword that popped up was necropolitics, I guess death politics. They started with some grounding questions just to set intentions. Those questions were, what are you longing for from our time together? And I wrote down these questions not because I wanted to remember to answer them because they were on the screen, but I wrote them down because I think these questions are applicable to all areas of life, maybe on every single day and every single moment, just to check in with ourselves. What are you longing for from our time together? This is like a question that is intention setting for life. What are you longing for from our time together? Number 2, what motivated you to click on the Zoom link and show up today? I like this question too because I think it makes you think why am I doing this? What core instinct pushed me, convinced me, told me that this was what I needed and wanted in the moment? Again, I think it's very grounding. I think it asks me to reflect on certain things that I really don't think about before I do things. What motivated you to click on the Zoom link and show up today? 3. What questions are you carrying with you in your mind, body, heart, and spirit? What do you need internally and externally to support you in your process today? So again, number 3 was, what questions are you carrying with you in your mind, body, heart, and spirit? What do you need internally and externally to support you in your process today? Who facilitated the session? Let me check my email. And actually at 11, one of the speakers from yesterday's Zoom will be participating in a purple washing teach-in on Zoom as well. So that's in 35 minutes. It's 6 p.m. Palestine time there. And if you want to check that out, go to tinyurl.com/hour of action, and at the very bottom there's a Google Calendar, and click on today's date. It's going to make you sign into your Google account because it's a Google Calendar, so it won't show up until you sign into your Google Calendar, but there's a link there. And you know, Hour of Action, volunteer source, and one of the volunteers, there's in-person actions as well listed on the map that's attached to that page. So again, tinyurl.com, Hour of Action. Check it out at the very bottom. Let me look up who facilitated this death workshop. It's called Death Workers Teach-In, and so the 4 individuals, the person who facilitated was named Conjure. The 3 speakers were Yafa, Shiv, and Jam. Let me look up if I can find what organization they're affiliated with. Yesterday was January 8th. Okay. This is the poster for it. It says death work is liberation work. It's with the Queer Shia Collective, the HSSN Collective, and MASGD, Muslim Alliance for Sexual and Gender Diversity. So those were the affiliated organizations. Super cool. One of the best things about volunteering for Hour of Action is when it really reminds me of how many people continue to show up all over the country, all over the world, for Palestine, for the Palestinian cause, and also for themselves too, because, you know, as that poster said, death work is liberation work. Every time that we choose to participate in someone else's liberation, we choose to participate in our own liberation. It reminds me of all these conversations that I think are very much related to what's happening in my head all the time, but very few people actually give the space to talk about because it feels weird to talk about death and death work because it's so taboo. And to see people who are very much immersed in it for their livelihood and their spiritual work is really comforting. Continuing on in my notes, what can I offer you that's on your timeline and honors you autonomy and consent? So I believe this was a note that I took down when we were talking, when the panelists were talking about, you know, like death coaching. Like basically if I'm dying and they were coaching me through the process of dying, the perspective from them is always what can they offer me that's on my timeline, that honors my autonomy and consent. Because one of the things that was discussed was death is different for everyone, right? Not everyone looks at death the same way. You know, I think being a death worker, they definitely had a different perspective on it. They think that death is natural, death is beautiful. One of the points that was made by Yafa in the panel was death, even in a genocide, is natural. Like, it's not the death so much that's the problem. It's the injustice and the oppression that led to that death that is the problem. And I think that was really grounding for me to think about, that even amidst all this suffering, we must allow for the natural acceptance of death in order to fully comprehend what's going on. But also to witness the suffering is to witness the injustice and the oppression that has gone into causing those deaths. And that's what we're resisting right now. And they were talking about different death cultures, you know, like, for example, I think this discussion was centered around, like, death culture in Jordan and how dying is not your individual responsibility. There's such an inherent built-in community aspect to it. And so in the West, you know, like, even my dad, even a Chinese immigrant, like, he's already bought his cemetery plot. And we're, you know, my mom died without a will, and that left me with so much more compounded grief, because not only was I dealing with my mom dying and leaving and not being here anymore, I also had to, like, work through the bureaucracy of getting all her accounts and possessions in order and, like, trying to figure out something without heads or tails being laid out for me. And all of that is individualized in the West. Like, it's on me to handle all of that and to handle my own grief, right? Like, yes, people say, oh, my condolences, people pull up with food, like, that's the beginning of community. But I feel like the community kind of stops there at a very, you know, superficial and customary way, whereas maybe in other cultures, the grieving process and the dying process is very much just internalized as this is going to be everyone's participation and involvement in dealing with someone's absence. I also wrote down in my notes non-attachment. I don't quite remember what the context for that is, but I think as a general rule for me, non-attachment is always something to keep in mind. I used to think it was a goal, but, you know, like, maybe it is and maybe it isn't, and I'm okay either way. But non-attachment, I think, is at least a very healthy de-stressing mechanism for me sometimes. Just whatever is mentally entangling and harassing me, practicing non-attachment gives me the space to actually breathe a little bit, and just letting go of all the anxiety and all the past traumas, and just trying to isolate the present moment. Hi, Australia. I think being a death doula is beautiful. I think being a death doula may be more beautiful than being, you know, like a birth doula. So in speaking about, you know, convincing other people to see death from your point of view, that was a question posed by one of the attendees and one of the panelists. I think this was also Yafa. I think I connected most to what Yafa had to offer yesterday in the panel, but Yafa, they said, model how they view death, meeting people where they are and allowing that to be beautiful as well, and to celebrate them wherever they may be in their viewpoint and journey towards death, about death, and always asking ourselves, how do we celebrate that difference in viewing death? And they said, you know, I've never supported two people in the exact same way. There's a beautiful spectrum of how we view death, and I think that is crucial, right? I think this is crucial in terms of trying to figure out how we exist in solidarity too in other movements. How do we allow for disagreement while still being in support of each other? I think this has been a very common critique of the American left and liberal side of the political spectrum, where there's a lot of infighting about, different viewpoints on certain things, and, how that leads us to not have solidarity and how that leads us to not getting stuff done. And so, how do we support people in different ways by recognizing the beauty of their viewpoint? We're not supporting people who support genocide, by the way. That's not what I'm talking about. But, we all, I think, approach things from different aspects. But it's hard. It's hard to navigate that for sure, because there's a sense of loss of self. I think that's also part of the work, is how do you allow for yourself to lose yourself? Not in an unhealthy, abandoning way, but in a very, non-attached, open, and accepting way. To know that there can be conflicting viewpoints within you without causing strife, I think is a life skill. How to sit with that discrepancy is very much a survival skill, because there's so much conflict and disagreement and lack of a singular truth, I think. And one of my last notes from yesterday's workshop is move towards living. Are you really living together? And there was a repetition of the thought, death is fine. It's the injustice that's moving us there towards death that's not fine. So considering what it means to actually live rather than just survive, considering what it means to find the meaning that we always feel hungry for, not in external structures, but in checking in with ourselves, in fully recognizing what death means and how integrated death is into life, in using this acceptance of death to illuminate what is it that we're longing for in our time together. Sludge is complete. Yum. So I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'll scoop myself a little sludge. I'll let it cool a little bit, and I'll give you guys a taste test. It looks like Sloppy Joe. Yeah. It's Sloppy June. Sloppy June is such a good artist name. My medium is mush. So yeah, I'm gonna spoon most of this into a jar and I'll eat it throughout the day. I also have some leftovers to get through, and hopefully this will bring me some comfort. We'll see. I haven't tasted it yet. We'll see how much comfort it can bring me. LOL. And before I go, I also want to show you guys the 2 books that I got. I've only read like 3 pages of one and a page and a half of the other, but hopefully I'll have a little more time and space to dig into them a little bit more, sit with them a little bit longer. Okay. I'm also going to skim off the skin on this delightful cooked milk. Just making some of you jump out of your skins right now, I feel like. Okay, we're gonna let this cool a little bit. Here are my 2 books. This first one is called Meditation, The First and Last Freedom. It's by Osho. I tried to look up this organization. I'm not really sure if I can trust them, but it seems like they have a lot of exercises for meditation in here, and that's what I mainly bought it for. I don't know if I'm buying into a cult. If anybody wants to look into it, you can let me know. And then the second one is Optimism Over Despair on Capitalism, Empire, and Social Change. Our old friend Chomsky. So this is something that I definitely never ever thought I would be reading, but the title just seemed to be speaking directly to me when I went to Salvation Army. So I picked it up. Horror Beyond Description, the latest phase of the War on Terror. I would like to start by hearing, this is the interviewer, I would like to start by hearing your thoughts on the latest developments on the war against terrorism, a policy that dates back to Reagan years and was subsequently turned into a doctrine of Islamophobic crusade by George W. Bush, with simply inestimable cost to innocent human lives and astonishingly profound effects for international law and world peace. The war against terrorism is seemingly entering a new and perhaps more dangerous phase as other countries have jumped into the fray with different policy agendas and interests than those of the US and some of its allies. First, do you agree with the above assessment on the evolution of the war against terrorism? And if so, what are likely to be the economic, social, and political consequences of a permanent global war on terror for Western societies in particular? Noam replies, the 2 phases of the war on terror, in scare quotes, are quite different, except in one crucial respect. Reagan's war was quickly turned into murderous terrorist wars, presumably the reason why it has been disappeared. His terrorist wars had hideous consequences for Central America, Southern Africa, and the Middle East. Central America, the most direct target, has yet to recover, one of the primary reasons rarely mentioned for the current refugee crisis. The same is true of the second phase, redeclared by George W. Bush 20 years later in 2001. Direct aggression has devastated large regions, and terror has taken new forms, notably Obama's global assassination drone campaign, which breaks new records in the annals of terrorism and, like other such exercises, probably generates dedicated terrorists more quickly than it kills suspects. We make our own lies and fears true by acting on them. That was me, not the book. Going back to the book. The target of Bush's war was Al-Qaeda. One hammer blow after another, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and beyond, has succeeded in spreading jihadi terror from a small tribal area in Afghanistan to virtually the whole world, from West Africa through the Levant and on to Southeast Asia. One of history's great policy triumphs. Meanwhile, Al-Qaeda has been displaced by much more vicious and destructive elements. Currently, ISIS holds the record for monstrous brutality, but other claimants for the title are not far behind. The dynamic, which goes back many years, has been studied in an important work by military analyst Andrew Cockburn in his book Kill Chain. He documents how when you kill one leader without dealing with the roots and causes of the phenomenon, he is typically replaced very quickly by someone younger, more competent, and more vicious. One consequence of these achievements is that world opinion regards the US as the greatest threat to peace by a large margin. Far behind in second place is Pakistan, presumably inflated by the Indian vote. Further successes of the kind already registered might even create a broader war with an inflamed Muslim world, while the Western societies subject themselves to internal repression and curtailing of civil rights and groan under the burden of huge expenses, realizing Osama bin Laden's wildest dreams and those of ISIS today. That's that. Oh yeah, Obama dropped a shit ton of drones. The essential core, the spirit of meditation, is to learn how to witness. A crow crowing, you are listening. These are two, object and subject. But can't you see a witness who is seeing both? The crow, the listener, and still there is someone who is watching both. It is such a simple phenomenon. You are seeing a tree, you are there, the tree is there, but can't you find one thing more? That you are seeing the tree, that there is a witness in you which is seeing you seeing the tree. Watching is meditation. What you watch is irrelevant. You can watch the trees, you can watch the river, you can watch the clouds, you can watch children playing around. Watching is meditation. What you watch is not the point. The object is not the point. The quality of observation, the quality of being aware and alert, that's what meditation is. Remember one thing. Meditation means awareness. Whatsoever you do with awareness is meditation. Action is not the question, but the quality that you bring to your action. Walking can be a meditation if you walk alert. Sitting can be a meditation if you sit alert. I don't like the word alert here, but I'm going to go with it. Listening to the birds can be a meditation if you listen with awareness. Just listening to the inner noise of your mind can be a meditation if you remain alert and watchful. The whole point is one should not move in sleep. Then whatsoever you do is meditation. I'm not sure what that last line is about, but maybe in due time. The first step in awareness is to be very watchful of your body. Slowly one becomes alert about each gesture, each movement. And as you become aware, a miracle starts happening. Many things that you used to do before simply disappear. Your body becomes more relaxed. Your body becomes more attuned. A deep peace starts prevailing even in your body. A subtle music pulsates in your body. Then start becoming aware of your thoughts. The same has to be done with thoughts. They are more subtle than the body and, of course, more dangerous too. And when you become aware of your thoughts, you will be surprised what goes on inside you. If you write down whatsoever is going on at any moment, you are in for a great surprise. You will not believe that this is what is going on inside you. And after 10 minutes, read it. You will see a mad mind inside. Because we are not aware. This whole madness goes on running like an undercurrent. It affects whatsoever you are doing. It affects whatsoever you are not doing. It affects everything. And the sum total of it is going to be your life. So this madman has to be changed. Again, I don't agree with that change word. And the miracle of awareness is that you do not need to do anything except just become aware. The whole phenomenon of watching it changes it. Slowly, slowly the madman disappears. Slowly, slowly the thoughts start falling into a certain pattern. Their chaos is no more. They become more of a cosmos. And then a deeper peace prevails. When your body and your mind are at peace, you will see that they are attuned to each other too. There is a bridge. They are not running in different directions. They are not riding different horses. For the first time, there is a chord, and that accord helps immensely to work on the third step. That is becoming aware of your feelings, emotions, moods. That is the subtlest layer and the most difficult. But if you can be aware of the thoughts, then it is just one step more. A little more intense awareness is needed, and you start reflecting your moods, your emotions, your feelings. Once you are aware of all these three, they all become joined into one phenomenon. And when all these three are one, functioning together perfectly, humming together, you can feel the music of all the three. They have become an orchestra. Then the fourth happens, which you cannot do. It happens on its own accord. It is a gift from the whole. It is a reward for those who have done these three. And the fourth is the ultimate awareness that makes one awakened. One becomes aware of one's awareness. That is the fourth. That makes a Buddha, the awakened. And only in that awakening does one come to know what bliss is. The body knows pleasure. The mind knows happiness. The heart knows joy. The fourth knows bliss. Bliss is the goal of sannyas, of being a seeker, and awareness is the path toward it. The important thing is that you are watchful, that you have not forgotten to watch, that you are watching, watching, watching. And slowly, slowly, as the watcher becomes more and more solid, stable, unwavering, a transformation happens. The things that you are watching disappear. For the first time, the watcher itself becomes the watched. The observer itself becomes the observed. You have come home. Mush time. Saffron, peanut butter, molasses, red sugar, milk, oats, sweet potato. Sweet potato could definitely be better, but sometimes some of us just don't turn out that delicious. I think the oatmeal could use a little more sweetener, but overall I'm very happy with it. That's it, folks. I'm gonna leave you. The purple washing workshop is happening soon in 8 minutes, so I'm gonna go set up my computer and get ready to tune into that. And yeah, if you want to follow along, tinyurl.com/hour of action. Go to all the way at the bottom. There's a Google Maps and a Google Calendar. Click on the click on the Google Calendar for virtual events, which this one is. And yeah, take care. I'll see you the next time, whenever that is.